Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Karachi, and in this video lecture we will cover incident response and forensics. Now in this lecture here we cannot go deep into every component of incident response and forensics, digital forensics in particular. Uh, to be fair to these two topics, you need a full course to learn the ins and out of these topics. Now, before we proceed with the lecture, let's start with the story to understand the importance of these topics. As FireEye CEO Kevin testified before the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee in 2021 during the SolarWinds response, he said, speed is critical to the effective disruption or mitigation of an attack by an advanced threat actor. As a result, having an experienced incident response and forensics team with the expertise to respond quickly will increase the likelihood of successfully addressing a breach. Let's start off the topic that we're going to cover. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about incident framework and event classification. We're going to talk about Playbooks, Runbooks, and the SOAR, forensics concept and principles, forensics analysis tools, and live collection and post-mortem tools. Let's start with the first topic. The incident response framework. An organization's security maturity level directly influences the quality of its incident response capability. I mean, quite frankly, like a startup company might have an untested IR plan, whereas a mature organization operates a 24-hour SOC staffed with responders actively threat hunting. In many parts of the world, things can and will go wrong quickly. And companies must be prepared and actively looking, not waiting for third parties to notify them of a compromise. So, let us start with how events are classified and the triage. Now, event classification and triage. Now, not every alert is an incident, and not every incident becomes a crisis. Accurate classification is the first line of defense, directing the right resource to the right events at the right time. Let's start with the event. Event is something that is observed, but its nature is unknown. It could be malicious or benign. Events occur hourly in most large organizations, yet many never escalate to actual incidents. For example, like an alert generated by a SIM tool notifying, for example, that an administrator changed their password is noteworthy, but not necessarily bad or evil thing. Incident is an event with a confirmed negative consequences, like outage, service degradation, system breach, data destruction, or even data loss. Continuing the previous example, the one we talk about the administrator. Now, if administrator's machine starts sending large amounts of data to a malicious IP address, the event becomes an incident requiring the IR playbook, which will be discussed later on. Now, crisis is an incident that escalates out of control, requiring immediate attention because of significant business impact and the threat of public disclosure. Now, for instance, if the administrator is on leave, the data is being exfiltrated to a confirmed malicious IP, and the attacker group has notified the board of directors that the data is held for ransom. This crosses into crisis territory. Now, before talking about triage, I want to clarify a few concepts here. Now, you need to understand a false positive occurs when personnel determines something is true when it actually is not. That's considered as a false alarm. A false negative is concluding something is false when it is actually true, a missed threat. So, what is triage? Now, triage is the process of determining whether an event warrants further investigation. Like an emergency room nurse taking vitals to prioritize patients. The SOC analysts must efficiently and thoroughly examine events to reduce response time and escalate valid alerts to the appropriate personnel. Now, once events are classified, the organization needs a structured process for responding. Let's examine the 7-step incident response process. Now, the 7-step start with the preparation here. Now, the organization must establish policies and procedures to address potential security incidents before they occur. This includes creating playbooks for different incident types, like ransomware, social engineering, hardware theft, and so on, and testing the plan regularly. Step number 2, we have detection. This step focuses on identifying events and incidents using automated tools, like firewalls, audit log, SIM tools, IDS, IPS, that provide real-time notification of anomalies. Number 3, analysis, evaluating the nature of incidents, its specifics, and the potential threat to the organization. There must be a means to verify that the event was real and not a false positive here. Often the same tools used for detection also support the analysis. Number 4, containment. The IR plan basically dictates what action is required. The team must contain the incident, like keep it from getting worse, mitigate damage, and remove the problem so the company can return to normal business processes. This step requires both planning and prior training here. Step number 5, recovery, restoring all affected systems to full functionality as quickly and safely as possible. This includes restoring data from backups, reestablishing proper system settings, and verifying integrity. Step number 6, investigation and closure here. The team determines what happened, who did it, and how. A formal or informal report must be prepared to evaluate any needed changes to incident response policies. Step number 7, lessons learned, very important. All involved parties review what happened and why. Most importantly, they determine what changes must be implemented to prevent reoccurrence and what did we learn from our mistakes, what gaps was discovered, and so on. The After Action Report, AAR, documents both success and areas for improvement. Now, typically, if you look here, the CSIRT, these are typical team. You find it in some companies and countries, by the way, and it stands for Computer Security Incident Response Team. Now, the IR process provides the framework, but execution requires detailed playbooks. Let's examine response playbooks, runbooks, and SOAR. Now, the response playbook. Now, these are important concepts, and they are closely related to incident response framework. The first one is the playbooks. Now, there are different scenarios that require different playbooks, but the fundamental template is the same. Playbooks have common components: the initiating or triggering condition, major steps according to the policy, best practices, and the desired end goal. A good playbook also includes regular laws it addresses. Okay. Now, a lot of professionals recommend using the MITRE ATT, the one we discussed in the previous video lecture, framework as a source for building playbooks. Okay. Now, runbooks here are often confused with the playbooks. Now, while runbooks define individual processes, okay, the playbooks deal with the primary responses. A runbook is essentially a chapter within the playbook. When automated, runbooks reduce waiting time and translate operational knowledge into procedures that execute immediately when criteria are met. Now, the SOAR, which is Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response, goes beyond automated runbooks by collecting threat data from multiple sources, automating responses, and integrating different tools. The SOAR specifically addresses two critical challenges: the alert fatigue, which means the volume of network traffic, making it difficult for analysts to distinguish legitimate data from security risk, and the shortage of highly skilled talent needed to research advanced breaches. Now, here we talk about the communication plan and key stakeholders. Every incident response framework contains communication plan and stakeholders. Basically, in any effective incident response framework, the communication plan ensures that a technical crisis does not escalate into organizational collapse by synchronizing 5 key stakeholders groups, starting with the information security team. They act as a technical lead, providing the ground truth needed to drive the investigation, while the legal counsel manages, the compliances, regulation, and protects the organization from liability. Network and sysadmins, these guys are vital to ensure that containment and recovery actions are executed without unintentionally disrupting critical business operation. At the same time, physical security secures the tangible environment against insider threat or hardware theft, while the public and the HR relations manage the narrative, ensuring that both the workforce and the general public receive accurate, controlled information that preserves the company's reputation. So all of these together, these stakeholders when they work together, they prevent confusion. They ensure that response is as much about the business continuity and the legal protection as it is about technical fix or remediation here. Now, the IR framework addresses how to respond, but how do we handle evidence properly? This brings us to forensics concept here. In section 2, we'll focus on forensics concepts and principles. Digital forensics is a structured, step-by-step process for analyzing data stored, processed, or retrieved on a computer system in a legally approved way so that any evidence can be used in the court of law. Now, although law enforcement has practiced criminal forensics for many years, private companies are only starting to see its full value. The key principles are electronic evidence is fragile, and there is only one chance to capture it correctly. As a result, A rigid methodology must be followed, and the original is never used for analysis. Let's take a look at the three major categories on forensics and the forensics process itself. Now here you can see those are the three categories of that. Starting with the computer forensics, this involves examination of physical media to obtain information for evidence. Software analysis involves reviewing malware, viruses, and other dangerous software for analysis and potential identification of the author. Network analysis focuses on network traffic and logs to identify the source and effect of an event. Now, this is a very brief explanation of the forensics process. And let's start with the first one, identify and acquire. Information must be identified and retrieved. The standard practice dictates creating a bit-level copy, means an exact duplicate capturing all data, including hidden data, original data, file slack, and drive slack. The investigator examines the copy while leaving the original intact. Preserve and authenticate. Now, preserve maintains evidence in an unchanged state. Authentication is accomplished through integrity checks using hashes, like MD5 and SHA-256. Now, we know that MD5 is no longer reliable for confidentiality. However, it is still utilized industry-wide for integrity verification of software downloads. Just to be aware that SHA-256 hashing algorithm is the NIST recommended. And finally, here we have analyze, record, and present. Now, the investigator examines drive slack space, file slack space, hidden files, swap page file data, internet cache and location, such as recycle bin, using specialized tools like FTK, Incase, and there are other tools. For example, like this Autopsy, that's a free tool also. You can use it to retrieve everything I just mentioned right here. All activities you do and every step you do here must be documented to ensure information is usable in the court of law. Now, forensics evidence integrity depends on the chain of custody, understanding the order of volatility. Let's examine these critical concepts here. Now, chain of custody and e-discovery volatility. Now, these are very important concepts here, especially the chain of custody. Now, the chain of custody protects the integrity, preservation, and reliability of evidence by providing an evidence log showing every access from collection to court appearance. Now, forensics procedure must document the complete journey of evidence and answer those 5 questions. Who collected the evidence? How and where was it collected? Who took possession of the evidence? How was it stored and was it secured? Who removed it from storage and why? Now, next, order of volatility from most to least. Now, once a forensics copy is created, analysis proceeds from most volatile to least volatile. This from here 1 all the way to 7, which means CPU, register, and cache are most volatile. And the least one is the archival data. Now, the sequence is critical because volatile data is lost as soon as power is switched off or the system state changes here. Another concept is called e-discovery. Now, electronic discovery deals with the review of electronic information for evidence recovery. finding and extracting documents and data stored in electronic format. This includes structured data from records, contracts, and forms, as well as unstructured data like emails, chat sessions, and file fragments. The legal holds, are activities an organization takes to preserve and protect all forms of relevant information while litigation is reasonably anticipated. The data retention policy specify, how long information is stored as an example. Now, with forensics principles established, let us now examine several tools used for forensics analysis here. Now, forensic analysis tools, from file craving, binary analysis, imaging, hashing, live collection, and post-mortem tools used by professional incident responder. There are so many tools. Now, the file carving means recovering files from unallocated disk space. Binary analysis, examining compiled code for vulnerabilities and malware. Imaging here, creating forensic copies. Hashing means verifying integrity. Live collection tools, capturing data from running system. And there are so many tools, and they are very well-known tools out there. There's absolutely no way you could learn each one of them, but at least you need to become familiar with some of them. Now, for example, the first one, foremost, that's a Linux forensics recovery tool originally built for law enforcement. It recovers images and files from hard drives, mobile devices using header-based carving. Scalpel strings. Now, open source file carving using headers and footers. It uses the Boyer-Moore string search algorithm for efficient, low overhead recovery operation. HexDump provides a hexadecimal view of binary file contents at the byte level. The Linux HexDump utility displays content in hexadecimal, decimal, octal, ASCII formats, and so on. Of course, there is a free Windows version for that. Binwalk, that's a Kali Linux tool. It's used for searching, analyzing, reverse engineering, and extracting firmware images. It is particularly valuable for IoT security, improving the stability and security devices against attacks. Now, the Guidra, created and maintained by the NSA. Guidra was released at the RSA conference in March 2019. It performs reverse engineering by decompiling malicious code to understand how it works, who is responsible, and how to protect against it. The commercial one, by the way, is IDA Pro by Hexrace. It's a free tool. I encourage you, if you want to learn about malware analysis, to become familiar with Guidra. GDB, OLE, DBG. Okay. The GDB is a debugger for Linux, Unix environments. The OLE DBG is a 32-bit assembler level debugger for Windows. Both are used to dynamically evaluate malware behavior here. Now, the OBG dump and the read ELF, these are Linux commands for object file analysis. The read ELF provides deeper inspection of ELF format binaries. Both are standard tools in static malware analysis and debugging workflows. Stress is a Linux diagnostic tool that monitors interactions between processes and kernel. Invaluable when source code is unavailable. Reveals exactly what program is doing at the run time. Now, for imaging and hashing utilities, one of the easiest one to learn is FTK Imager. It's a free tool by Access Data for creating forensics images. Access Data is the name of a company. It supports physical drives, logical drives, image files, folders, and different type of media. Supported format include the RAW, SMART, E01, and AFF formats. Now, they can capture live memory, locates deleted files and emails, and these are the industry standard in commercial forensics labs. I encourage you to become familiar with it. The DD is a free tool included with every Linux and Unix distribution that creates perfect bit level copies of any disk. Originally developed to convert data between different formats. Now, the DD is capable of backing up entire hard drive partitions. It can create ISO files, converting data formats, and most importantly for forensics, creating like image files with MD5, SHA-256, checksums. This capability is crucial for evidence that may be used in the court. Now, Clonezilla, it's an open source imaging in two versions. There's the live one, single backup restore, and the SE Enterprise. It is bootable via USB and can create forensics image for redundant evidence preservation. Now, speaking about the hashing utilities. Now, these are typical tools, you can find it, and it can be used to verify data integrity using SHA-256 algorithm. Now, it can confirm the file authenticity and detects any changes after acquisition. It is pre-installed on most Linux distribution, and like I mentioned before, NIST recommends this algorithm for evidence integrity. There's also another one, SSDeep. Compute fuzzy hashes using context-triggered piecewise hashing. Can match modified versions of a file even when data has been partially deleted. Used for speed-based similarity, pretty much speed-based similarity identification in Kali Linux investigation here. Just remember, always hash the original and both copies immediately upon creation. A hash mismatch at any point breaks the chain of custody. And that's something you do not want it to happen. The final category of tools focus on live collection, capturing data from running system during active incident. Now, these are a good example of live collection. Like for example, NetState. Okay, you should be familiar with this. Displays active connections, routing tables, and protocol statistics. Key for identifying open ports and active network conversation on the live system. NBT stat resolves net bias computer names from IP addresses. Very important for SOC and analyst troubleshooting Windows environment and identifying unauthorized devices on the network. The Netcat, the Swiss Army knife for TCP/IP. Establishes network connection for reading and writing data across TCP and UDP. Can be used for both legitimate administration and attacker infiltrating system, basically. Now, the TCP dump, the most widely deployed packet analyzer, created over 30 years ago, captures and records network traffic across all major platforms. It outputs the files in the PCAP files for offline analysis. One of the best tools is Wireshark. It's an open source tool for capturing network traffic at extremely granular level. It shows you a lot of information, like it transmit time, source, destination, and protocol type. It can help determine whether traffic is malicious. It can help you to identify the attack type. It can show you the targeted IP addresses and can help you to determine the attack origin. However, it can technically be used for eavesdropping on the network, so you cannot do it without explicit permission here. Volatility is a Python framework for volatile memory analysis. It captures running processes, open network sockets, and memory address mapping, and it's a very, very, very known tool. Now, Slith Kit, it's a command line tools for disk imaging analysis, keyword searches, and deleted files recovery. Autopsy provides the GUI front end. Autopsy is not difficult to learn. Autopsy, it's a free tool for forensics, and you can as a matter of fact, it's built into Kali Linux. Now, PS, VMstat, LDD, these are other tools to show you the process status, the process ID, TTY, time, CMD, and there are so many tools here. Now, also there's another tool, it's called LSOF. This tool lists all open files by processes. Very, very useful for detecting hidden files handles. The contract tracks all active kernel level connections. Both are critical for live Linux incident analysis. Finally, the memory dumps the full content of physical memory in raw form, used to capture memory resident evidence, running processes, decrypted payloads, credential before a system is shut down. Now, so what is the takeaways from this chapter? We talked about a lot of things. We talked about event to incident to crisis. We talked about the 7-step IR processes. We discussed the playbooks plus the SOAR. Okay. We understand that evidence is fragile, so therefore you have one chance to capture it correctly. Hashing and secure the original. Make 2-bit level copies, and you must understand the chain of custody, that it must remain unbroken at all times. Volatility order matters. Okay, we spoke about this, starting from the most volatile to the least one. Now, know your tools. There are so many tools out there. I went over many of them. The one I went over are famous tools. Try to become familiar with these tools. Learn how it works for incident response and digital forensics career. Finally, I want to thank you so much for watching this video lecture. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you again for watching.